My name is John Strumpf. I'm a Penn State grad in 1969 from the psychology program in the School of Liberal Arts, followed up by some doctoral degree at New York University and other relevant certifications. I'm a practicing school psychologist and have been for 35 years. The session is Seeking Alternatives to Medications for Children with Attention Deficit Disorders. Dr. Karen Bierman is a distinguished professor of psychology, director of Penn State's Child Study Center, and associate director of the Prevention Research Center. Her research focuses on peer relations, disruptive behavior problems, and intervention programs to facilitate social judgment. Currently, she directs the Head Start REDI project, a field trial which evaluates the impact of research-based emergent literacy and social-emotional skill training on school readiness in the context of Head Start programs. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Bierman.
So let me tell you a little bit about why I decided to focus on this particular project, which looks at ADHD. So one of the things we know about ADHD is it's one of the most common childhood mental health difficulties. So rates vary a little bit by area, but on average, 5 to 8% of children will be diagnosed with ADHD. That equals about 2 per elementary classroom. So my guess is probably each of you, somewhere in your life, your own child, yourself, maybe you work with children and in that work have run into children with ADHD. We're particularly interested in looking at the developmental roots. So the work I'm going to be talking about today looks at what we're learning about the basic brain development and the neural architecture of ADHD and how we can intervene early in a way that might prevent some of this or reduce some of this later maladaptation. So to be diagnosed with ADHD, you need 6 or more inattention symptoms. So these are things like difficulty sustaining attention, difficulty following directions, being disorganized, being distracted, often forgetful. And the other diagnostic criteria is 6 inattention, or, and often it's and, 6 what are called activity symptoms. So these are either symptoms of hyperactivity, just being on the go, being driven by a motor. You just think, where did this kiddo get this kind of energy? Or impulsivity. So that's the acting without thinking, the great difficulties waiting your turn in line, waiting to hold your hand up till it's your turn, that need to really be moving. So the most common, and research would tell us the most effective intervention is medication. It's why it's so commonly used. And so we are concerned about over-medication, but it's also true that many children, not all children with ADHD, but many children show a positive response, and it allows them to be less jumpy. The other treatment that also can be very effective is behavioral management training, both with parents and teachers. So what behavioral management is designed to do is make the rules very, very clear for children what you're supposed to be doing and what will happen when you do the right thing, what you're not supposed to be happening, and the consequence for that. Neither one of these interventions actually changes the core developmental course of adaptation. So on a day-to-day basis, children are doing better. They're not in trouble as often, but the learning difficulties don't change, and the social difficulties don't change. Now, some children grow out of their ADHD, particularly if it's not very severe, and that gives us some hope that there are experiences that can facilitate the development of skills that would actually remediate ADHD, even in children with more severe symptoms. And that's really the direction that we're heading in our research, is are there things that we could do that, rather than just supporting the handicap, could look more at the core basis for the disorder and change that. So I want to tell you a little bit about our Child Study Center. It's a very, very exciting place to work. It's a part of an overall move at Penn State to build more interdisciplinary research. And this is part of the reason I think that we are a national, international leader in this area. Is Penn State has really invested in this idea that the answers to questions like the ones we're posing are not going to come from single disciplines. They're going to come when you can really build interdisciplinary teams where people are working together. And these folks are working in the same center with folks like me who focus more on the intervention side of it. So my background is how do we work in school settings and community settings with parents? What are different kinds of intervention tools that we know about? And by bringing these folks together, the goal is really now to come up with some novel approaches, some innovative ways of using our intervention techniques differently in ways that might be more attuned to our understanding of brain development. So let me tell you a little bit about our intervention that we're working on now that we hope will really have an impact here. It's called the Friends Project, fostering regulation with interactive experiences that promote neurodevelopment in school. And what the project actually involves is we're working with kindergartners who have come into school now with poor self-regulation skills. So just like those kids on the first slide I showed, they're more inattentive, they're more impulsive, they're more hyperactive coming into school. We screen them and we'll be involving them in a friendship group program that involves activities that are going to essentially help them practice the use of executive control, very much like a weight training, a sort of strength training activities. And we'll be following these kids over the year. We have an alternative tutoring condition that is our comparison condition. And what we really hope to see is that we can strengthen executive function control so that not only do we see a reduction in the hyperactivity part of the symptoms, but also a real improvement in adaptive functioning. So our focus is really to go in around the social activities. It's hard to find a kindergartner who doesn't want friends. It's a very high motivator for all children. So we go in with friendship, but in the friendship activities, we do things that require the practice of effortful control. So I'm going to show you one example of this, and you'll see this is actually a group now, a pilot group for us. So we were developing the intervention. You'll see a couple of our graduate students, and they're working with children. These are just community volunteers that we've brought in. Now they're engaged in trying to figure out how to solve a problem. And it requires looking at the problem, but stopping your impulsive activity to discuss the options.
Everybody is going to get one set of stickers, okay? Now, we need to decide who's taking what. What do you guys think? I'm going to hold on to these, and we'll come up with an idea about how to decide.
Good ideas. I see 2 hands up.
Looks like Lily's got an idea. Let's listen up.
The first person gets it, and then next time the other person gets it.
Oh, okay. So if we could take turns as far as who chooses. Let's see what you have to say, Amelia.
We could have one of each stickers.
Oh, so split up the stickers.
Everyone gets a penguin and everyone gets a flower.
What do you guys think of that one?
I know.
Let's see what Sam has to say.
Wait, we can all have 2.
You could each have 2. I think you're right. There's probably enough. Let's give ourselves a hand for working so well together.
Oh, great job, everybody.
So we hope what we're doing is really strengthening that executive control power. So our hypotheses are children will have these kinds of experiences in small groups. And so what happens is you create in the school a very positive peer structure. The kids love coming to friendship group. And also a chance for the children with difficulty to practice with children who don't. So it's a much more power for generalizing to their real life relationships. So we're starting the first group in the study right now, and we'll be evaluating them at the end of the year. We have another group that will go through the study next year, so I say come back in 2 years, and we'll know what the results are.